Hello world. So in this example, I will showcase to you how we can make use of different apps and services, as well as to break down a task into different discrete steps in order to generate complete articles by utilizing the most updated financial data to create financial summary, financial performance kind of articles. So this is just a very high level overview of what's going on. We'll take a Google Sheet and then we'll use that to trigger different functionalities, whether it's to fetch data or whether it's to generate the overall headline, right? And then to go into the topic sentences followed by the detailed paragraphs, and then last but not least, combine everything together so that you have the complete article that's written to Google Documents that we can then email to someone. So let's trigger this and then see what happens. So here's the spreadsheet that we'll be working with, and notice how for this companies the status is not yet started, right? So in order to get going, let's start by fetching data. And then you will see that we are done, right? What it does is basically it fetches all relevant articles before the specified date, and then you get the relevant earnings as well as company details. So similarly for both C and Grab, here's what we get, and then the status gets updated to fetch data. Let's start to generate the different headlines we could potentially use, and we will do this. Right, it's going to make a call to the LLM with all the relevant information that we're passing in order to do the generation of headlines. So you can actually see on the back end of our server that this is the response that's being streamed back. So let's just wait for that to be finished. And I'll do a bit of time fast forwarding magic later on, so you can skip the waiting. So because we're actually trying to generate 3 headlines, it's going to take a while. Okay, so the status is completed, and then that's what we get returned, and then the status gets updated as well. So you can see that there's some of the we have returned basically 3 headlines, 3 possible headlines, as well as the different ways that this article could be structured. So now we will write the topic sentences for each of these content blocks. So what we're really trying to do here, as you can see, is really break down this whole job of writing articles about financial performance into different steps, and then chaining these different steps and passing information along the way so that the LLM can make use of all this relevant information and context at its disposal. And we're also generating multiple variations. Yep, so here's the status, and then, as usual, let's just wait for this to be done. All right, and again, you can see that we are done. So you have all the different topic sentences that are written for each of these content blocks. And the status is updated as well. Now that we have our topic sentences, let's move on to the next step to actually write out the full paragraphs. So that is when we will execute this generate full articles, and then it's going to make the calls to the LLM to take all this information that we're filling in order to generate those full articles. And again, you can see the response being streamed back to us back here. So the good thing about kind of like parameterizing these structures by allowing the selection of models as well as article types is that we can then use other LLMs to generate more variations and really test out the performance of different LLMs, right? We can also use different prompts. It's really just a matter of updating the prompts.py file that I've set up in my backend in order to change the prompts that we would like to experiment with. And then subsequently, we can also add a tracing module to actually log all these different calls so that we can really log the inputs and outputs, as well as even the time that it takes, as well as the token count of all these different experiments, so that we can continuously optimize on our pipeline, essentially. So now that we're all done, right, you can see that the detailed paragraphs are all added to the right content blocks and in order. And then the final step in our process for now, for this brief demonstration of the MVP, is to actually create Google documents out of all this and then send it to the reviewer. So the whole idea is we can still have some human in the loop initially, and then add on more functionalities and more automations later on once we have a much firmer grasp of that whole process of chaining, how we want to chain these different components together, and how we want to correct for tone, style, and all those things, even at the prompting stage already, right? But for now, for the purpose of this demo, we will assume that the end of this whole path is when we send the generated Google documents to a human for review. All right, so let's write to Google Documents. So a little handy thing that we've done here is actually also to log the number of tokens for each of these articles, right? Because part of the instruction is to try to keep to the average length of the financial performance summary type of articles that we've seen so far. All right, and it says it's completed generating, and the URLs are all appended here as well. So we can actually take a look in articles, and here you can see that it's been generated here. I've specified for it to be generated over there, and then it gets sent to us as well. So if you look inside, you will be able to start to work with this Google document already. So now that we have this complete articles generated for us, we can do a very quick vibe check to make sure that it's actually making use of the context that is passed in. And of course, in a more sophisticated rollout, we can automate this evaluation step. We can make the LLM correct itself, and also to do its own fact checking, maybe even give it tools to access the internet for specific things that we might want to be checking for as well. But for now, here it says that in Q4 there is this total revenue of 3.73 billion, gross profit is 1.55 billion, and so on and so forth. For net income shows a loss. Maybe let's see whether this tallies with the data that we have fetched. So Q4 2023, I guess it's this part, right? So total revenue, we see here. And then what else? Gross profit 1.55 billion, that's correct as well. And then exceeded, so negative 0.19, which is better than negative 0.25. So it's basically citing the information that we've passed in, which is great. I think this is really just a showcase of the preliminary possibilities of automating different content types by giving the LLM a series of steps to work through, as well as access to information at its disposal. Hope that was interesting, and can't wait to actually automate even more of the different types of content, and maybe actually even write out complete long form articles by, I think what we can do is essentially make the pre-writing research process a lot more diverse, give you a lot more information sources and different ways to look at a possible topic, maybe have it come up with interview questions or generate more questions and perspectives in a way by researching Wikipedia, by researching the internet, and so on and so forth, right? So really making the whole research process a lot more robust and comprehensive, which then goes into our usual chaining and breaking down of that overall structure into many different steps, and then again making sure that it has the relevant information and tools at each stage to finally compose a long-form article at the end. And then we can again throw in an automated evaluation LM to rate the content that is written, and also give feedback. So there is kind of like a refinement process and fact-checking process at the end as well. I think the whole idea is really you can play with these different components and steps almost as if they are Lego bricks. So that's it for this demo.